Hi, so in today's video, I tell you more about Diana and Wesly. Diana is a person I worked with, and Wesly is a person I lived with. So, when I met Diana, I met her on the boat, and I remember that when she saw me, she wasn't happy, as if I was, not only had things written on my palms and on my hands, but also I had things written on my in my Akashic records, in my aura. Well, we all do have, something, some energy, something around us. But she just, yeah, to start with, Jana didn't seem to be happy to see me, but she quickly changed. Um, I was just surprised that she wasn't, in the best mood when working with tourists, and not in the best mood to say hi to a new colleague from work. So she quickly changed. And, she told me she was from Argentina. And I started to look at her and I started to, question it, because she was a very small woman. She had longer black hair and dark eyes and brown skin. And she looked pretty much gypsy. So, but at that time when I looked at her, I couldn't, link the fact that that would be the gypsy look too. So, when I was looking at her like that, she just goes like, goes on the table, and she says, "Yes, yes, I am from Argentina. Yes." So basically, this movement of the hands spread it on the table and standing in front of you. It's hard to show you, but yeah, in such a way. It's hard to show you because I'm trying to keep the computer on the level of my face, and I keep it in my legs. So sorry for today. Um, and that is the gesture that I kept on seeing when talking to other people who also used hypnosis. And I classify this gesture as the gesture in which you send some energy to someone, and also a gesture in which you actually try to induce, and make somebody say, "Yeah, agree with you." So I go like, "Okay, oh, you are from Argentina." But also how I know that she possibly was not from Argentina is because I asked her, "So what is it like in Argentina, and what can you see there?" Meaning, what can you see in Argentina? What is it like there? And she was looking for references in me, like what did I know about Argentina? I didn't know anything about Argentina. I just imagined forests. So she told me that there is a great forest, or there are forests. Oh. And that was our conversation about Argentina. So, even I, who didn't know much about Tarnów, I would tell you, where is Tarnów located in relation to Krakow, and I would compare in Krakow's parties and so on, and universities, because that was my life, partying in universities. So even though I didn't know much about Tarnów, I could tell you about the places I used to visit, So that's always something, because you make some connections to those places. The ice cream we used to have with a family at the end of the street, and pizza that we have from the same place, from the same streets. Yeah. So, coming back to the subject of Diana, she would say, enjoy the sun. And she started to wear a yellow raincoat, and Diana, she would say, enjoy the sun. And this was pretty much that connected with, I'm not saying that this expression was connected, I don't know that, but if you want to see somebody else's references in their Akashic records, then, saying enjoy the sun, she might have possibly seen, my father, whose death was somehow connected with the sentence, he didn't see the sign, possibly the sun, as the sun seems to be a recurring topic in the gypsy symbolism. Because in many other stories that I write about, I see also, the sun is used in those historical events too. And then, I had a time when I lived with Wesly. So I lived with, Wesly. I lived with guys from Serbia. I mean, I was renting a room from one. And I lived with a Dutchman who was supposedly Dutch and Spanish too. So he supposedly had a bilingual citizenship. And I also lived at the very, very, very beginning, I lived in a house with 7 other people. So it was a working house provided for us by the company we worked for. But today I wanted to tell you about Wesly. So basically, the way we met was, he was my neighbor. He lived very close to me when I lived with those 7 other people, and we met at the bus stop. And I just asked him about the way, and that's how we ended up having tea by his place, because he was like, I don't have any alcohol, so I don't do any alcohol. Yeah. And when we met out in Purmerend, he told me that I did what I wanted. And he told me that, other people don't ask when they need something, and supposedly I do ask. But in terms of, I would say I didn't ask questions of people who, if I found a question to be, inappropriate or something, or nosy, then most of the time I think I didn't ask people such questions. That most of the time I would wait. I waited in the past for people to share with me if they wanted to. But Wesley was right that, when it comes to, for example, walking around a city, I was never good at reading maps, and I would be asking people about the way. And then when somebody asked me about the way, I was the worst guide ever, and I was like, I don't know. So yeah, and so when you think about the number of models I had, yeah, so people would just come around and they would be my models, and I never thought that this is this energetic exchange over here, that somebody comes just like that to give you their time. Yeah, so it's a lot. They actually give you something. You think it's nothing. You think they are just having fun because they're having experience of being a model, and that's in it all true. But there's more to that. So he grasped something about me, and I was intrigued. Like, I was like, how could he possibly know? Like, if I didn't tell him. And I was a little bit mixed, because I kind of knew that he was on the point, and I didn't have all the details. I couldn't name all the events from my life in front of him just like that fluently too. So yeah. And he was checking my Akashic records. He was checking with horse meat. He was checking with, I was eating frikadels, which is similar to a Frankfurter, and we talked about horse meat, because I believed frikandels were made of horse meat, and I really honestly didn't want to eat a horse in Holland. But I was eating those horses because they were very cheap, and he told me they were not horses. So I was really relieved. And, we talked about his cats, what I liked better, cats or dogs, and how are, his cats different from my cats in Poland. Basically the image of the cat in Poland. So today, when I just think about the way I called my own cat, not Tequila, but Cone, and, it speaks about the forest. So we find cones in the forest. So I think it's a very refreshing and cute name for a cat. And he had a daughter named Lotus, and that's a very unusual name. And Lotus is the name of the flower, and Lotus is like Louis, very close to that. Because later I had an experience when I saw a dog, and that was the best dog in the world, and it was running at me happily. And I think uh, the dog just Louis was the best. He looked the best, and he was adorable. But it was probably about the fact that it was just so happily running towards me and cheering me up as if it knew me. So that was the best part in it all. So Louis, but Lotus. When I think about Moulin Rouge and the number of flowers I find in that song or people who sing that song, and in basically what I wrote lately about flowers and the connection of physical practice of matching flowers with glass by just placing them on the windowsills, and the connection with the women working in the Netherlands and standing behind the windows. Um, so I don't know if working is the best word here. So I think he was tracking references, or he was tracking references to anger in a funny way, because not only he would just talk about anger, but he would be actually finally he showed me a video in which he was just doing kickboxing or karate and kung fu all at once. and and when he showed me the video, then we just looked at each other like thinking, yeah, that was aggressive. That was an aggressive video. But um it was funny because he told me about pushing, someone wanted to push somebody else off the stairs. And this is the sentence I heard from my sister. So it was in a moment when I felt threatened when writing the book. So I think that remark was just uttered so that I would feel that way, so that I would feel threatened and stop writing. But there were many more, references from the childhood when I jump off the stairs and I'm caught for my hair and I just hang on the stairs just for 2 seconds. But it didn't hurt. It didn't ache. And finally, it was a time when actually a lot of people were walking behind me, and Wesly not once told me to stay at home, but we were just not only distancing from each other, but we were starting to argue because he let me use his laptop and then he set up the password. We didn't argue about that, but when some coins from the piggy bank were missing, then I was angry with him. And now I know it was for sure not him, but it was easy to just jump to conclusions. Yeah, and basically, he helped me a lot. The very first time when I had my phone hacked, and Wesly borrowed me his laptop, and I could just walk out with his laptop and use it at my place. Or he let me leave my things at his place and just bring more stuff from Poland. When I was going for my leave, I just left the clothes at his place because I was moving to the Netherlands for good, and I would never see this entire thing happening or coming at me, the thing that came at me. And he basically, whatever was his way about to go and channel, then that was his way. And I think it was cool, and it was great to live with someone who was Dutch, and and just be like those two folks starting over. Okay, so yeah. So I'm grateful for the accommodation and the time I had by Wesley, and living on his sofa, and then like being all over the place, and having a few things downstairs and a few things in this room and a few things in this. That was that was fun. So yeah, if you want to buy Piglet is already on sale. You can click the link in the description of the film, and if you want to buy Amelia, you can click the link in the description of the film, and all the info is also on my website, Facebook, Instagram account. So if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for